Each time we sell this product, we pay Amazon about $7 in fulfillment fees, about $5 in referral fees, and on average about 55 cents per unit on our storage cost. Now for most sellers, these are the three biggest fees that are impacting their profits. But by the end of this video, you're gonna know how to increase your margins by decreasing each of these three costs. Now, of course, there's a bunch of other costs to consider, like your ad spend, refunds, dealer coupon fees, and a whole bunch of other costs. But in comparison to these three here, they don't come up each time you sell a product. And also, they're pretty smaller in size, especially when compared to your fulfillment fees. Even if you could reduce this cost by just $1, imagine how much you would save as it continuously compounds each and every sale. So by using our product as an example here, I'm gonna show you two possible ways that you can lower your product's fulfillment fee by at least $1. So here in Seller Central, we're in our manage inventory, and you can click this right here to see your FBA fee, which ours is $7.33. But clicking into this eye icon will give you a calculation as well as the values used to determine it. So if we wanted to lower our FBA fees, it would have to come from either the product size tier or the shipping weight. And we can see down here, our product size tier is large standard and our shipping weight is 3.5 pounds. Now, it's also important to know that your product size tier really just depends on your shipping weight. So your shipping weight will always be the greater of either your unit weight or your dimensional weight. And the only way that doesn't happen is if you're in one of two size tiers. So the first one here is special oversize, and the second one is small standard. So if you're in one of those two size tiers, then your shipping weight will always be the unit weight here. And if you're unfamiliar with dimensional weight, let me show you an example really quickly. So the dimensional weight is calculated by dividing your length times width times height divided by a divisor of 139. And to make this a lot easier to understand, I put it in a sheet here. So here's our dimensions for our product as well as our unit weight. So to calculate the dimensional weight, we would simply just calculate these dimensions together. So times all of them together, and then divide it by 139. And so our dimensional weight is 3.21 pounds. And because that's greater than our unit weight, that's going to be our shipping weight. So the reason Amazon and other shipping companies do it this way is because their shipping trucks are not limited by how much weight they can carry. They're also limited by how much physical space is available in each truck. So the logic behind dimensional weight is to charge sellers based on the total volume their product takes up inside their shipping trucks. And once you start to really understand how this fee is charged, you can start thinking about how to minimize your product's packaging to take up less space. For example, over here you can see that Amazon's charging us about $7.17 plus 16 extra cents. And where that comes from is in our size band over here. So our product is large standard and we're just over 3 pounds. Remember, we're 3.20 dimensional weight there. So over here we're being charged $7.17 and then 16 cents for being a half a pound over that first 3 pounds. And we can kind of confirm that over here in this calculation by seeing that again here as well. So if we wanted to reduce our dimensional weight, I'm gonna come over here to the revenue calculator tool to show you what we would need to do here. So I went ahead and put in our package dimensions here, but if we just take off a fraction of an inch on each side of our packaging, I'm just gonna remove these, everything after the decimal here. You can see that our fulfillment cost goes from $7.33 down to $6.39. So we're now under that 3 pound dimensional weight or shipping weight here, and we're now in this band right here. So in order for us to save almost $1 in our fulfillment fees, we would need to get our dimensional weight just under 3 pounds, like this example here. And now there's a few ways you can do this. So first, if your product comes with accessories, instead of putting those in separate boxes, you can try to find a safe way to consolidate everything into just one box. You can also try to identify and eliminate any empty space inside the box. Sometimes this can be done by simply replacing your bulky padding material with thinner alternatives. Or even in our case, we could try working with our supplier to see if there's an even more efficient way to fold these pads to take up less volume. We could even try to vacuum seal this and see if we can save at least 1 or 2 inches there. And if none of that works, we could potentially even reach out to our supplier and slightly alter this product, which is about 30 by 36, and we can maybe bring it down to 30 by 32 there, or something like that. Now, if none of these options are available to you, or you just don't want to alter the size of your product, there's one more way you can potentially save on your fulfillment fees, and that's to make sure Amazon's not overcharging you for incorrect dimensions. And this actually happens more than you might think. In fact, just a few weeks ago, Amazon reimbursed us about $1,000 for using incorrect measurements. So why does this happen? Well, all throughout the year, periodically, Amazon will rescan your products using their Cubiscan measuring system just to check if the size has changed. Now, if during the scan, your product was remeasured incorrectly, perhaps something got in the way of the laser or the box was beaten up a little bit, if that new measurement is bigger, Amazon will use that new data and begin charging you a higher fulfillment fee. And unfortunately, because Amazon doesn't notify sellers, most are completely unaware that this is happening. So the only way to prevent and recover overcharges is to periodically check Amazon's measurements with the ones provided by your manufacturer. And you can do this by simply keeping track of everything in a spreadsheet, and then maybe once a month you cross-check it with the Amazon data. And if you don't have that many products, you can go back over to Manage Inventory and just check your fulfillment fees here. However, if you have a larger catalog, you can head over to your fulfillment reports and download a fee preview. And if you notice any discrepancies, there are two ways that you can reach out to Amazon. The first way is by opening up a seller support case, which you can do here, browsing this menu, fulfillment by Amazon, and investigate other FBA issues. And it's always this last one down here, confirm or request reimbursement. And so you just want to reach out to them, tell them what you found, and then ask to be reimbursed. Now, the second way is to use the search bar and just type in Cubiscan, click search, and then the recommended solution is usually to submit your ASIN to have that product rescanned through their system. Okay, now besides your fulfillment fee, the second major fee that you should try to reduce is your referral fee. For most categories, this is around 15% of your selling price. And while there isn't a whole lot you can do here, we've actually been able to reduce our referral fee down to just 5% by using the brand referral bonus program. Through this program, every time you bring traffic off of Amazon to Amazon and they purchase one of your products, Amazon will give you 10% off the referral fees for that purchase, as well as any other purchase that those customers make from your brand within the next 2 weeks. Now, keep in mind that this only applies to any sales you make through an Amazon attribution link, but in the past few months, we've actually been testing this out here at Jungle Scout by using Google Ads to send traffic to our Amazon listings. And so far, the results are pretty amazing. I can't really give away too much now since we're in the middle of filming a case study for it, but at a high level, because we're only paying 5% instead of our normal 15% referral fee, our Google campaigns are noticeably more profitable than our Amazon campaigns. Now, don't get me wrong, for every sale we're making on Google, we make at least 5 times that on Amazon. Amazon will always be where most people shop, but just in terms of campaign profitability, both our cost per click and ACoS is much lower on Google than it is on Amazon. But that could just be the case for us. I'd recommend you try it out for yourself and see whether or not you get similar results. And if you want to learn even more about that program, we have a full guide that shows you how it all works and how you can get started. You can check out this article with the link in the pinned comment down below. Now, moving on to the third major cost that you can reduce, your storage fees. Just like your fulfillment fees, these are charged based on the amount of volume your products occupy, but in Amazon's warehouses. But rather than reducing the size of your product or even its packaging, the best way to save on storage costs is to move your products in and out of Amazon as fast as possible. Because each day that a single unit of yours goes unsold, your per unit storage cost increases. That's why it's really important to make sure you send in just the right amount of inventory into Amazon. And a good rule of thumb that I like to use for this is to maintain only enough inventory to last anywhere from 60 to 90 days. So when placing your next FBA shipment, make sure you only send in however much inventory you expect to sell within this time frame. And the way you can calculate that is by taking your average daily sales and times it by the number of days you want to stay in stock. And to find your average daily sales, just head over to your sales report and use a date range that is at least 90 days or longer. That way you aren't looking at just the past few days and making a decision based on the recent trends. From here, you can take your total unit sales and divide it by the number of days to give you your average daily sales. Then just times that number by how long you want to be in stock for. And this will give you how much inventory you should include in your next shipment. Now, while sending in this amount will help you avoid overstocking, it's equally important to make sure that your products also don't go out of stock. This is why you want to make sure to set reorder points. In other words, this is the last possible day that you can create a purchase order with your supplier. And any day after this point, your inventory will not make it into Amazon on time. So to calculate your reorder points, take your days left in inventory and minus that by your lead time. To find your days left in inventory, you can just divide your available units by your average daily sales. Now for your lead time, this is the total amount of time it takes to manufacture and ship your products into Amazon's warehouses. Now with both of these numbers, you can see how many days are remaining until you need to place that order. And depending on the size of your business and how quickly you sell, you may need to run these calculations on a weekly basis. That's why one of the best investments you can make is to rely on an inventory management system that automates this entire process. Software such as Jungle Scout's Inventory Manager can accurately calculate how much stock you need and when to reorder it, along with the estimated cost and profits. By forecasting future demand based on your sales history, a tool like this will help you take a data-driven approach to your inventory management. Quickly see which products need to be reordered now, reordered soon, or which ones are currently overstocked and perfectly in stock. Now, for those thinking about storing inventory outside of Amazon, perhaps with a 3PL provider, this next video will show you a few ways to save money and also a few strategies to reduce your freight shipping cost. So make sure to check out this next video, and thank you so much for watching this one. We'll see you in the next video.